Feel free to ask any question if you have any. So today we'll look at some security principles, only some of them. Rest of these principles we'll cover in the next class. Now I want to ask you, let's suppose you are given the task to make your house which you are building in a in some locality, and where road passes by, maybe close by. Uh, okay, so your father asks you to build a house, and it has to be secure because you have a lot of assets. Like assume that your father is a business guy, brings a lot of cash, and also you have jewelry, gold, whatever precious item at home, right? Yeah. So what all you can do now? Just think. Can you answer? I mean, what are you going to do? Anyone? Think what are the what how you will design your home so that it's secure. What are the factors you are going to apply? Let's assume your father has given you 1 CR, 1 crore to make a house, okay? To build a house.
Installing CCTV cameras,
Okay, very good. Okay, what else?
Point a security guard.
Guard, right? Security person. Oh, okay, all very good. What else?
so a digital lock, which fingerprint enabled to save the
Yeah,
precious assets.
yeah, digital lock. Fine. Anything else? Okay. So basically, the approaches that you have mentioned are all correct, but these are based on what we see nowadays, right? When you visit somebody's house, you see all this. But you'll have to start from something much basic. For example, first you have to see what kind of threats you have. Suppose you are building this house in one of the Nordic countries like Sweden, okay, or part of Sweden where there's no theft at all, or in Finland. Okay, then you don't need such an expensive methods, right? Okay. If you are building it in, say, somewhere in Bihar, then obviously, and that too is smaller town, say Darbhanga, for example, then you'll have to think of different solution altogether. Now, next thing is that do you really have assets that you need to, your assets inside house say maybe of 5 lakh rupees, then you don't need to do too many things, right, to safeguard these assets, because cost of security can be much more than the cost of asset or asset value. All right, so we look at all these principles, okay, that you can apply to when you are designing any system, and including information system or computer systems, right, or any applications, any software that you design, right, you need to apply these principles, and these principles are very common principles, right? We'll see how. Okay, so I have taken contents only from one source, and that's from University of California Berkeley's course CS161. So you can go to the website, you'll get all what we are studying today. So these are the security principles. Know your threat model, human factors, securities economics, detect if you can't prevent, defense in depth, least privileges, separation of responsibility, ensure complete mediation, don't rely on security through obscurity, use fail-safe defaults, and design in security from start. So we'll look at all this in 2 classes. Okay, today we'll cover only 4 or 5, and the next class will cover the remaining. Okay. Okay, so we'll cover only 4 in this class. Okay. Preamble before we start discussion. It is very certain that assets of a country in future will no longer only be land, but digital assets. Okay, so we'll have wealth of country will not only be defined by how much land the country has. Okay. But you know, a lot of other assets that we are creating, the corporations we are creating, the banks we are creating, organizations we are creating, right? All that. And then the war in future will not happen just through physical means, but also on internet, right? Through internet, a lot of things can be attacked. Okay, like I mean, you can clean up the bank, you can stop functioning of a bank, or you can steal nuclear assets, design of nuclear assets. You can shut down power plants and all that. All right, and even in Russia and Ukraine war, a lot of digital fight is happening. Of course, over internet. Why use internet? Why we not use other word apart from internet? Okay, internet is network that connects everything. There's no other network that connects all assets or all people. Okay, internet is the de facto network. So we had a lot of other technology in the past, like radio communication, okay, AM, FM, or whatever, right? Or walkie talkie. We also had radar, we had PSTN phones, we still have, we have GSM, etc., right? Or now we have 3G up to 5G for mobile. Okay, and you know, of course, 5G is based on 5G is based on internet, but basic communication technology, voice communication technology that we had in GSM, etc., right? All these technologies came, and there are a lot of other technologies which I am not writing, like Sonnet, uh, and then we had, okay, token ring, token bus, etc., all land technologies, etc. Okay, satellite, of course, satellite technology, communication, all these came and went, right? And they are in existence, but most of them are used to carry internet. And so internet is the technology that allows interconnection between various kind of technologies, and how it does so we'll study later. But what is really important to understand is that the internet is the de facto technology, right? Network. So all of us have internet. Okay, just look at this email. Now what we are trying to do is that we are trying that you should have security mindset. You think like a thief to find out where the holes are, security holes are, right? I received this email. Okay, and please read this email. Now, of course, I have, and then of course at the bottom they have given some link which I have deleted. Okay, now how can you find out this is a fraudulent mail? Anyone? Now, clearly this shows the attackers are not very smart people, but they may be smarter than some of us who are foolish enough to click on the link. Can you find out that there is this email is fraudulent? Anyone here? Just answer.
So it is being sent to multiple people at once.
Very good. That's first thing. Nobody will reveal your email ID to anybody else. This is a privacy issue. Banks, no, banks or any company. In this case, here is not. Yeah, they will never send it to a group of people. That's very good. This is the first point. What else can be there?
The sender's email is not of an organization.
That's true. Very good. The second very good point. Excellent. What else you can find out? The language here itself shows that it's not typical corporate communication language, right? How the way corporate. And secondly, they will never send this regular client. They will say, hello, Mr. Whatever, the customer's name. Okay. And they cannot send, and here if you look at, they cannot send a common bill to all the people, right? It's again fraudulent. Okay. Despite that, they might have collected at least few thousands of dollars. Okay, another one. This kind of SMS you receive very often, right? My name is Rose Helen. I want to transfer my fund to you to help poor people in your country for charity purpose. Contact me on this email. Okay, this is surely first thing is that nobody will give anybody money for free. Remember one thing in life, never anything that you get for free is only what God gives. There's water, air, sun, and so on. But nothing else is free. Even the restaurants sometimes send you offer that free lunch or whatever is not free. There's a hidden cost for you somewhere or other. Okay. I got fooled once, so some restaurant where I visited earlier asked me to drop my visiting card. I dropped it. After some time, they say that your name came out in lucky draw and then please come and have lunch with us. I said, fine. I was happy. So after some time, they said that we are coming to your office. I said, why? He said that please introduce you to HR. Okay, I said, no, that's not my job, right? And then after some time, actually they visited and directly told HR that, this gentleman has given, has asked me to meet you and all that, right? So there's a lot of costs for everything that you think is a free. So there's nothing free in life. Okay. So you can easily make out that nobody would transfer fund to anybody for charity purpose or any other purpose. So you can easily find out this is a fraud. There's another email I have received. Sorry, SMS I have received. Rupees 10,000 credit to your account. Okay, download and draw your directly to your bank. So note that this is correct information. Okay, this is my okay. By the way, this is the last 3 digits of my mobile phone. Look, how do you find out this is a fraud?
Link is not there.
Yeah, link is, it will take me somewhere. Well, they will, download or upload some virus into my account or my mobile or my laptop. And secondly, this thing, right? Even this is my mobile number. So they would have got my mobile number, thought that, some customer will think it's correct. And again, remember, nobody gives money for free in general, right? So you just have to understand that these are all fraudulent mails. Okay, just some examples. Okay. And you need to tell your father, parents, and so on about all these kind of frauds that are happening. All right. So first thing first is that we should know what is the threat model. when you are designing a security system for anything, maybe a piece of software you are writing, or a complete software product you are developing, or complete hardware software product, or consumer product you are developing, or building a house, you must know what is the threat model. First, you need to model all possible threats that can happen and think of how do you handle those and what is the cost of handling those threats. Okay. So threat model is potential cause of harm. Okay, this is threat we say. Potential cause of harm is a threat, right? There may be threat of war, there can be threat of flooding, there can be threat of, your corporation being the company where you work, maybe may get ransomware attack or something like that, right? So threats can be malicious or non-malicious. Okay. So it's okay. Malicious means that it can harm you or your organization. Non-malicious is that it may not harm you, but there can be a threat. Okay. Okay. Model of who your attacker is and what resources they have. So basically, when we think of a threat, suppose you are building a house, then you'll have to think that who your attacker can be and what resources they have to attack you or attack your house. Okay. If you are in Delhi, it could your threat model could be different. If you're in gated community, threat model will be different. If you live in a flat, threat model could be different. If you in Raebareli, it could be very different threat model, right? And so you'll have to think of who all your attackers are, what resources they have to attack you. Okay. So threat modeling is a structured process. Okay, with the following objectives. First thing first is that identify your security requirements. You'll have to think what are your security requirements. For example, when you stay in a hostel here in IIT Mandi, your security requirements would be very different because most expensive asset you may have is your mobile phone or maybe laptop, right? Campus is already secured, right? And so on. However, if you stay in PG in Bangalore, you cannot trust your environment there, right? So when people leave the hostel or the PG for for maybe they go out for lunch or dinner, then they lock their laptops also. Okay, so you have to first think of your security. What do you want to secure? Okay, and what kind of assets these are? Then pinpoint security threats and vulnerabilities. Then you think of if you are in PG, then you and if you don't trust your room partner, then you'll have to think that this guy, who is in the room can also steal your laptop. Okay, and all right, so all these things, what vulnerability the room has, for example, it has a window without grill. Then somebody from outside can come in and steal your valuables and run away. Okay, all right. Okay, and then quantify threats, vulnerability, criticality, etc. Right? Quantify it. How big the threat is, how big is the vulnerability is, right? How critical it is, and so on. And then prioritize remediation methods. The methods to handle those you'll have to think of. If you don't have grill in your room, then possibly change the room and ask somebody to put a grill there or do something about it or lock your laptop or whatever. Okay, so this is a threat model. So what do threat modeling do? We have already discussed it. Understand threat to guard against during requirement analysis. So now here is important point, requirement analysis. In software engineering, suppose a customer gives you a project or so a customer gives you a business or task, Okay, so first thing you is that you do requirement analysis. Once you receive this business, in requirement analysis, you find out what are the basic requirements. Now you, from that, you come to software requirements, hardware requirements, and so on and so forth, right? So first is system requirement study you do, then you do design, then you do coding. If you're doing software project, then you do unit testing and then final testing, and at last release testing, right? This is a normal phase you follow. Okay, the first thing first is that requirement you look at. What is the requirement? If the requirement says you don't need security, you don't have to do anything. But if you need security, then you have to have security in mind before you start the design. Okay, got it? It cannot be afterthought. Once you build a house and then you think how to secure it, your security will be incomplete. Okay, you may have built, I mean, you will live in Begusarai and you have house with 10 openings where, or 10 doors which through which a thief can come, then this is not a good design. You can't do much, right? So you have to think of requirement before you start constructing your house. Okay, this provide basis for security mechanism to include during design. Good. Then verify security of system. Once you have designed, then verify whether it meets the requirement. And this provide basis for prescribing secure implementation practices. Okay, basically there are a lot of methods, templates, and so on available which you can apply, and then of course at the end you have to do testing whether it works or not. All right, consider personal security, your own security, right? If you are in New York, whatever state, I forgot the state, which is extremely dangerous to roam around, then your personal security requirements are very different, right? I mean, the criminals can attack you for money. However, you are in Mandi, then chances that in your campus at least that there won't be anybody who will attack you. Possibly very little chance of being attacked for money. Right? So you'll have to find out who can attack you at. It means that you have to think of what place you are in, how much money you have, etc., etc., right? Okay. One of the very important kind of security you need to understand in your personal life is called intimate partner security. Now, this is more relevant for Western countries, but it's also becoming important in India. It means that your intimate partner, your intimate partner could be your spouse, or it could be your live-in partner, like your whatever, right? Your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. In relationship. When we say intimate, it means that the people are in some kind of relationship. Now, there is a lot of crime happening between intimate partners if they don't have trust. Okay, it's very, very dangerous to reveal everything to your intimate partner. Now, this is very contrary, right? Because you may want to trust your intimate partner. You trust in general and you share, but studies say that it's very, very dangerous to say, for example, pass on to your intimate partner something like your login ID, password, your bank account number, bank details, again credentials, your Facebook password, etc., etc. So all these are whatever is all digital assets. If you just reveal it to your intimate partner, then you can be in danger. So remember that whatever be the closeness of intimate partner, you have to keep some things with you. Okay. Anyway, this is not so important. So your threat model is very important. You have to know your threat model. And finally, you'll have to think who's the attacker. If there's no attacker, there's no problem. Okay. And only one way, and the best way to counter the attacker is to attack their reason. Why they are doing it. Okay, so they attackers attack systems because of money. This is motivation number one. Second is for politics. Well, politicians, you know, they can go to any extent. Okay, I mean they can put a small agent in your mobile phone to find out what you are sending, and it's a very common method. And for fun. Okay, but the common assumption for attacker is that, see, look, when you're safeguarding something like your security guard in campus, they have to be 24/7 and various points, right? However, attacker can attack at any point in time. So that advantage attacker has. Okay. An attacker is not a foolish attacker. It used to be 30 years back. They will get into random house and steal. Now today, attackers, digital attackers at least, they know everything about you. They have been collecting information about you for many years. Okay, so suppose I plan to attack an organization or a bank. So I will know the bank's name, of course, the bank's location, what is the router there, what is the IP address in general they have. Okay, I will know what kind of routers they have. I will know who is the general manager, what is the hierarchy. Are there temporary employees or not? What are the privileges of temporary employees, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, I will start collecting this information for many months, and at certain point in time when I have enough information, I will start planning attack. Okay, and these attackers can get lucky, right? If an attack has probability of success which is 1 in 1 million, then attacker will time million times. So the cost for attack is much significantly lower than cost of defending. Okay, and these attacks can happen through multiple different systems. Not necessarily attack is just single pointed attack. Okay, and then attacker will have resources required to mount the attack, because attack today or digital attack is not a low cost attack. I mean, of course, there can be some very low cost attack, like like somebody sends you an email that you will be given $1,000. You click on this link. Well, there are a lot of foolish people who will click, but in general, there's lot of thinking, lot of process, lot of algorithms go in designing an attack. No, see, attack may require some kind of privileges, like user ID and password of system admin guy. Okay, so there's a company, every company will have IT people, and they will maintain, manage system servers, etc., etc. If user ID and password of that person is required, criminals will find out a way to possibly get that user ID and password. Okay, so these are the steps that we have already seen. Okay, identify assets, document architecture, decompose application, identify threats, document threats, rate threats. Of course, maybe you'll plan how to design, develop and test. Okay, a part of this is called, okay, part of the threat modeling. One is, okay, all right, it's not part of threat modeling, is little diversion from there. It's an important concept called trusted computing base. Okay, all right. Now everything, when you are designing, for example, you are asked to design a system. Okay, and that you want to make it secure. Note that, and then there are inputs coming from somewhere. Note that you cannot make everything secure. All you can say is a small part of it is secure. It has been designed, tested, and so on, absolute security. And then every input has to pass through that. So now this thing through which inputs are coming, external inputs are coming. So this part will verify all the external inputs, and then allow access to the remaining resources. Okay. For example, you have a campus. Oh, of course you have a campus, north campus, south campus, right? And then intruder or a visitor or intruder can come only from one gate. Okay, all other around is river or whatever, right? They can't enter. So, and now you put a security guard or team of security, and then they will check every vehicle or every person that is coming in. Okay, then you are certain that all this is secure, all your assets are secure. But this part we call the trusted computing base or trusted part, most trusted part, right? So this security set of security guys have to be absolutely secure. I mean, in the sense that they must provide absolute security. They must be 100% trustworthy. All right. So similarly, in any system, when we design, we cannot make everything reliable. Okay, but we'll have to make part of that reliable, absolutely reliable and trustworthy. So what TCB is component of system that security relies on, as we mentioned here, this set of security guards at the gate. Okay, properties of TCB, trusted computing base, is correctness, completeness. It means that it has to be correct, technically correct. They must check everyone who is coming in, even if your director comes in. Okay, he must do checking of that. It happens in all corporations, right? That even CEO is allowed to goes through the proper security check. It is to be completeness. Nobody should be able to bypass it. And then security has to be reliable, that nobody can tamper with it. Okay, and it should be made as small as possible, because if TCB is larger, it's very difficult to design, write, and audit. Okay, so now there are two ways. One is if this is a complete system, one possibility is that make TCB as large as possible. Second is make TCB as small as possible. And we are going to always design in this way. Any question? Okay. Now you start applying these models, right? Wherever you go, whether you go to a stadium or bar or any place, there must be some way the security is applied. And you will see that usually it is through gate or some common points. For example, in airport, when you go, there are only 2 or 3 places you can enter the airport. You can't enter from the runways side, right? You cannot enter from the back side of that. Of course, you can do so in railway stations, or many railway stations, but at least in airport, where security is very important, you just can't enter, excepting for few places. Okay. Now when we say all this, it is, how to have a TCB in general is very complex thing, right? For example, case of mobile, a mobile handset, the OS is approximately 15 to 20 million lines of code. Can you make all 20 million part of TCB? No, because 20 million lines of code, who has developed it, when it was developed, whether it's totally secure or not, it has been tested fully or not, nobody knows. Nobody is going to do 20 million lines of testing before releasing a mobile handset. It's impossible. Okay. Now, however, in this operating system, say Android or Symbian or whatever it is, okay, we can create a small TCB and make sure that all the inputs passes through that TCB. Okay, all right. Okay, please go through this by yourself. All right, I think we have still some time. Modern operating system strive to reduce the size of TCB. So obviously, in any system, we have to reduce the size of TCB. Okay, because if the overall system is this big, then we say TCB is very small. then we can exhaustively test this TCB. Okay. So consider, for example, Linux system. What is part of TCB for a system based on Linux? It could be hardware. Hardware has to be absolutely trusted. Then kernel, a part of OS, that's kernel, system binaries that we are using for example, booting up and so on and so forth, that cannot have any kind of malware, right? So all this should be absolutely trusted. Configuration file, set UID, I don't know whether you, I don't think you will know what set UID is, but anyway, we'll study that later. Root programs, etc. Okay. Now, part of that OS, we call it reference monitor, which is tampered proof, right? Okay, so if you look at this diagram, now kernel, or sorry, any OS is normally split into two spaces, right? We'll study the concept of process later. Something that user interacts with, for example, when you do login or you say print something, right? The user gives print command. Now that execution happen in user space, but this request for printing something has to go through a reference monitor. Okay, we call this as a system call in OS. So corresponding to printing, there can be system call, and it will go to reference monitor, and this reference monitor is part of TCB. Actually, we can say this is a TCB. Okay, and then we will check validity, whether system call is valid or not, the parameters are valid or not, and all that. Okay. All right. Okay, so that was the first point that we studied. Second point is second principle. The first principle was your threat model, and part of that we have studied the concept of TCB. Now, second important factor is human factor. Now, everywhere you see there are breaches, humans are involved. Okay, and because users like conveniences, they don't want to get into all security stuff, right? They think it's a quite waste of time. I mean, even login sometimes looks, is complex, right? And for fund transfer or getting into, logging into your banking account, sometimes there are 3 steps. Like in ICICI Bank, I mean, when you're doing fund transfer, not only you'll have to do user ID and password, they will ask, few numbers that's printed at the back of your debit card, and after that they will send OTP, right? So there are multiple levels of security. Now we get really sometimes annoyed, it's pretty waste of time. Okay, but so what we want to skip that. If there is an alternative to me, so I will use that because it's simple for me. Okay, and note that if security system is extremely unusable, then nobody will use it. Okay, and user in general want to find ways to subvert security systems. It makes their lives easier, right? I mean, you have to swipe the card to get into a system. Say for example, you're getting into a lab, and then it asks for a fingerprint. Okay, and you notice that somebody is just going in, you will tailgate the person, just follow that person, then you don't have to use your fingerprint, right, to enter. So that's all escapes, right? Users usually try to find out escapes, right? They don't want to use security process, and that provides a security hole. For example, when your system allows you to tailgate, then a criminal can also tailgate. Nobody can stop it, right? Okay, programmers, most of you will be coding, they make a lot of mistakes. Why do they make mistakes? Because they don't have knowledge of security, or they don't know programming also. Okay, and despite knowing they are making mistake, they continue to do mistake until it impacts their career. Okay, all right, just a minute. Social engineering. So social engineering is something is basically use some person's trust for personal gains. For example, I mean this is very common method, right? I mean you're driving your car and on the way somebody asks, pretends as if he is met with an accident. You stop the car and let the person come into your car and then person steals everything, they robs you fully. This is social engineering trick. Okay, now for example, you are there are hundreds of social engineering tricks, right? I mean, for example, somebody may tell you, even somebody that I am not able to do transaction today, I need say 10 lakhs of rupees for urgent transaction and so on and so forth, I will return you tomorrow. Can you pass on your user ID and password of the bank, and I can return the money, and you do that. That's social engineering. Okay. Okay, so you get an email from your boss. Actually, the email is very, source ID or from ID is very similar to your boss email ID, and ask you for certain information and reveal the information. Okay, it's all called social engineering. Okay, because and why do you get fooled, right? And somebody is asking you for help on the road, and sometimes you may have to, but other times you may have to assess whether it is a social engineering trick or not. Okay, you get this kind of warning dialogues, right? It says that there is a website, for example, you're accessing is malicious, and then you get this kind of box that in future you don't want to this kind of message, invariably you'll tick this. I mean, system is warning you that, or browser may be warning you that this is in where you are trying to get into is malicious, but still all these things you would have seen, right? That very often we are foolish enough to ignore these things. Okay, please go through this. Third thing is that security doesn't come free. Third security principle is that security is economics. You are building a house, you can building a house for say 1 CR. Okay, it means that your assets there are say 10 lakhs. This cost of construction, 10 lakh kind of assets you have at home. You cannot have a security solutions here which will cost you 50 lakhs. Okay, all right. So security is always economics. Okay, when you want to secure something, you have to see what to secure, how much to secure, because you cannot secure anything 100%. You cannot secure anything 100% against all kinds of attacks. Okay, so you need a system that can protect you against certain levels of attacks. Attacks can be very, very complex, right? Okay, but you'll have to think what can be possible attack, what we are preventing. Okay, what is the cost of my assets, and then spend accordingly in security processes or systems, right? More security, more money to implement. So you'll have to cost benefit analysis. All right. So if, for example, if your hostel room has something that has value just $1, in order to protect that, you can't have $10 of lock. Okay. So these are the examples. Please go through it when you have time. Okay. There are lockers of various kinds, right? It's called TL15, TL30, TL30, and the cost varies from 3,000 to 10,000. This kind of safe locks, whatever you call them, right? And requires expertise to break it, right? Okay, and then of course there's a TL60 also, which is 50,000, 50K. All right. So you'll have to think what you are going to protect, right? If you have just a small amount of cash, etc., then maybe cash of $10,000 or $20,000, then this is good enough, right? But if you are in a bank and then bank has got to, a lot of variables can come inside, then you'll have to have this kind of locker. Okay. Okay. Now you can see this kind of signs, many places, right? Okay, now let's assume that you don't have any security system in place, okay, in your home or office. But even if you put this kind of symbol, then many thieves will not attack you, right? Similarly, you can say that beware of dogs, and you may not have dogs at home, but right, without you don't have dog, but still it can provide you some kind of security. Now, fourth thing we'll complete in next 2 minutes says that detect if you can't prevent. So worst thing is that you have been attacked, but you don't know about it. See, you may not have method to prevent it. See, your company, for example, has been attacked. A ransomware attack has been mounted. Ransomware takes months actually to get developed. Okay, first thing is that intruder will get into one of your system, then start knowing about other system from there, right? So attack usually develops in days or weeks or months, depending on kind of attack. So attack has happened to your system and you don't know about it. That's worst. You don't have any method to prevent it. Somebody is going to attack you, you can't do anything. You're a very small organization, you don't have all security solution in place, but at least you should know somebody has attacked me. Then you can do something, you can shut down your system, you can do a lot of other things, right? Okay, so detect if you can't prevent. Deterrence is that stop the attack before it happens. Prevention is stop the attack as it happens. So detection is a learn that there was attack. So this point we are discussing, right? Just learn that somebody has attacked, and then you can do something about it. Do something. Okay, it's better than actually not knowing forever. Okay, all right. Okay, and then you can plan. Just a minute, one more minute. APT is most advanced form of threat, right? Advanced persistent threat. So there will be a team of say 100, maybe 20 people who are security expert or criminals. Now some of these may be PhDs also. Okay, and they may be planning attack on a bank. So they are given the project by their boss that you have to attack a bank with a ransomware, and you have 6 months or 1 year or so on. So for 1 year they will plan all the attack. Okay, this is called advanced persistent threat. Okay, and when this attack happens, it's extremely difficult to control. So in this scenario, better find it out early that something has happened, and once you know something has happened, then you have to respond. Okay, you have to recover, you have to reboot the system, you'll have to clean up your system and do something. Okay, kindly go through this whole thing. But detection but no response is worse. Okay, okay, you can detect but no response doesn't help, right? You'll have to respond. So what we will study today is it's very important to know your threat model when you're designing a secure system or system security. Okay, then you have to have TCB, and TCB has to be as small as possible. Security is not free, it requires money, time, etc. So security is economics. Okay, and if one is not able to prevent security breaches or security threats or attacks, then one must know it at least, right? All right. Okay, like you have a help in home and you have old parents, and then that help or that person starts stealing. Okay, then you should come to know. You cannot prevent it, but you should know that something is happening, and then you can take some actions. Okay, all right. Any question? Okay, then thank you.
Sir,
I will say, yeah.
sir, I wanted to,
I'm not able to hear you.
sir, about the attendance.
Yeah,
How will it be done, sir?
I will. This system allows me to check.
Okay, sir. So we don't need to do anything.
No, you don't need to do.